With just 7 days left to vote in the 2020 presidential election, the nation's top cybersecurity officials are working to ensure Tuesday's election results remain uncompromised. In recent weeks, the FBI has confirmed Russia, China, and Iran have all launched disinformation campaigns in an effort to cause distrust of the U.S. electoral process. However, several of the nation's top security officials have stated these foreign entities will not be able to access or alter votes ahead of the election. Senior investigative correspondent Catherine Herridge has just concluded an exclusive sit-down interview with the acting Secretary of Homeland Security, Chad Wolf. His department is responsible for the security of voting systems and sharing intelligence about foreign interference and threats with state and local authorities on Election Day. And Catherine joins us now from Washington. Hi, Catherine. Welcome. So what did Secretary Wolf say about the big picture?
Well, the acting secretary told CBS News, Tanya, that there are a handful of major differences between 2016. He pointed to the fact that intelligence and law enforcement was able to quickly run down this foreign interference by Iran and Russia last week. And he also pointed to the fact that the administration has made a decision to be very public in calling out these bad actors. But I think for most voters, it comes down to a very basic issue.
Can Americans be confident about the security of their vote on November 3rd?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Americans, every American who's voted either early voting or plans to do that on Election Day should be confident that their vote that they cast will be counted. What we've done over the last 3.5 to 4 years has really been night and day to what we saw in 2016 and the relationships that we had with state election officials. What we saw, again, 7 to 10 days ago, where we've identified some nation states acting nefariously, is part of that effort. So the system is working. We were able to call that out. We were able to communicate to voters, to state election officials what was going on so that people can make their own decisions.
The acting secretary said the guidance they're providing to local and state authorities extends beyond intelligence and security, and he said they are urging them to follow CDC guidelines, especially with the recent surge in COVID cases, Tanya.
And Catherine, almost a week ago, the intelligence community and law enforcement called out Iran and Russia over election interference. What has happened since then, and what might happen in the next week leading up to Election Day?
Well, the acting secretary told CBS News that they have seen Iran and Russia sort of tamp down or sort of mitigate their behavior with election interference since they were called out by the U.S. intelligence community. But he said the next 7 days are really the period of greatest jeopardy for foreign interference, and we're likely to see more of it.
Intelligence community and law enforcement called out Iran and Russia over election interference. Has that shut down the threat?
Well, it certainly mitigated it. We are almost a week out from Election Day, so this is the prime opportunity for any adversary, whether it's Russia, whether it's Iran, or it's a cyber actor.
So to be clear, this last 7 days is really the period of greatest jeopardy.
Absolutely. Obviously, we've been concerned over the last 4 years, but as you get closer and closer to Election Day, the time frame on when, again, bad actors, whether, again, nation states or cyber criminals, want to interfere.
You said the threat from Russia and Iran has been mitigated. Have you seen a change in their behaviors?
We understand what they're doing. We've called them out on that. We remain on high alert. So is that to say that they won't try anything else? Absolutely not. We are anticipating that they might.
It's important to emphasize, Tanya, that there's a big difference between election interference and what they call influence operations that are designed to sway the views of American voters and compromises of election systems, because what he said, they haven't seen any activity like that that could in any way approach changing the vote and the outcome on Election Day, Tanya.
And what did the acting secretary say about the president's tweets regarding ballot fraud and that the result of the election should be known on November 3rd?
When we asked the acting secretary about this issue of voter fraud or ballot fraud, as the president has so frequently tweeted about, he really sidestepped that question, Tanya, by saying that's an issue for the Justice Department. It's not a Homeland Security issue when it comes to the election. But he also emphasized that when you look at the big picture, this period from the Election Day forward is a period that's going to provide, or require rather, a lot of patience.
The result is not known on Election Day. What's your advice to the American people?
Stay patient. So the election night results that you would normally see are never official. So keep that in mind. The official results usually happen weeks later. There will be some states that are continuing to count their mail-in ballots come election night and the days after. So there will be some states, not all states, but there will be likely some that we will not know on election night what the result is. Again, remain patient. And again, be mindful of whatever you're seeing on social media. So, and get your information from trusted officials, and don't believe what we are likely to see as misinformation campaigns.
How do we reconcile that? You're telling people to be patient because it could take days or weeks, but the president is asking for a result on November.
Yeah, I think the vast majority of Americans would like that result come election night. And I think, you know, if it all works out, we will have a result come election night. But we do know that certain states will continue to count some of their mail-in ballots for a couple of days after.
I think if there's one big theme, Tanya, or headline that came out of our reporting at CBS News, is that the acting Secretary of Homeland Security is concerned, as are other officials, about these final days leading up to the election and any periods that are perceived to be periods of uncertainty. So when it comes to the result of the election, and then also efforts by foreign bad actors to sow confusion and push out disinformation about the democratic process itself, Tanya.
All right, well, Catherine Herridge, thank you so much. And you can see more of Catherine's interview with DHS Secretary Chad Wolf tonight on Evening News and tomorrow on CBS This Morning.